Example number 3. The radius of a sphere is given by the equation r equals the quantity 3v divided by 4 pi, all to the 1/3 power, where v is the volume of the sphere. Find the radius of the beach ball to the nearest foot. Use 3.14 for pi. Now, a couple things before we get started. First of all, if you forgot the terminology sphere, it just means a ball. It's a three-dimensional ball. So if they've got the beach ball down here, that's a sphere. The equation will tell us what the radius is. So if we have these numbers, we can substitute them in and we can find the radius. V in this equation represents the volume of the sphere. So we need to find the radius. So radius equals, and then in parentheses, 3 times v. So 3 times the volume. If you look at the picture, they told us that the volume was 113 cubic feet. Divided by 4 pi, and instead of using pi, they actually want us to use 3.14, and then that is all raised to the 1/3 power. Now, so far in this chapter, we've been solving these by hand and simplifying by hand, but to be quite frankly honest, I'm not doing this by hand. Doing that even on your phone, if you've been using your phone, not pretty. So we're going to go to Desmos. Up here, type in desmos.com. And then once you get there, under your math tools, we're just going to use a scientific calculator. Now, there's a little bit of a learning curve on this guy, but he's actually pretty handy. So we're going to start with a pair of parentheses, because that's what we had written on our paper. And then if you hit your division, it gives you a nice, neat fraction. In the numerator, we had 3 times 113. Then I'm going to drop down here to my denominator, and we had 4 times 3.14. Sorry, I have to backspace a little bit. Oops. Then if you go outside, we're going to raise that to a power, and our power is also going to be a fraction, and our fraction was 1/3. And then just hit enter, and it looks like 2.9996. So back over here, our radius is 2.9996 if I go out to 4 decimals, but it says find the radius of the beach ball to the nearest foot. So the nearest foot means round to the nearest whole number. The 9 tells us to round up. So the radius of the beach ball would be 3 feet. Example number 4. To calculate the annual inflation rate R in decimal form of an item that increases in value from P to F over a period of n years, you can use the equation R equals the quantity F divided by P to the 1/nth power minus 1. Find the annual inflation rate to the nearest 0.1% of a house that increases in value from 200,000 to 235,000 over a period of 5 years. Okay, so we have to find the annual inflation rate. The annual inflation rate is R, so R equals. That's what we're trying to find. Now we just need to figure out where to substitute all of these fantastic values. So it says of an item that increases from from P to F. So this house increased from 200,000 to 235,000. So this is P and this is F over a period of 5 years. And it says n years. So this must be n. So if we substitute that all in, we're dealing with F, 235,000, over P, 200,000, to the power of 1/5, and then don't forget the minus 1. Now, once again, using your phone, probably not the prettiest on this, so I'm going to go back to Desmos. This is actually a pretty slick calculator if you get used to it. We can leave this here. It'll let you do a couple things at once. So we just get a new line. I'm going to start with our parentheses, do a division. We have 235,000 over 200,000. Then outside to the power of, get another fraction up there, 1/5. So 1/5. And then on this one, don't forget your -1. Equals 0.03278. 0.03278. So 0.03278, and I did round this guy, but we've got all these, and this is in decimal form. So it says find the annual inflation rate to the nearest 1/10 of a percent. This is a decimal, not a percent. So the question is, well, how do you take a decimal and convert it into a percent? And the answer is you're going to multiply it by 100. All percents are based out of 100, which essentially is then going to take this decimal and move it over twice, which is going to give us 3.278%. So your annual inflation rate is about 3%. But then it specifically said that we have to round it to the nearest 1/10 of a percent. Tenths place is 1 decimal. So the 7 tells me to bump it up. 3.3% would be our annual inflation rate.